Hi there, I'm Ricardo Corvey, and this is the Rainbow Room International podcast channel, and welcome back to part two of Tara's origin story. She is our director at the Great Western Road Salon, and we've been through her journey from basically being a primary school kid right through to being an educator, a member of the art team, and a prolific team member at Crow Road. And now we're going to start talking about our journey into getting the Great Western Road Salon. So, as usual, drive safe if you're listening, sit back and relax and enjoy. Tara, part two.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
So, you touched on this when we did podcast live.
Yeah.
That you're in the academy because you're obviously an educator.
Yeah.
And you see Alan and Linda there. So the approach to coulda, woulda, shoulda was there for you. So do you want to tell everybody that moment when you did take the slightly longer walk and went into the office and spoke to them?
Yeah, I mean, that was probably over a period of time of, will I do it this week, will I not? I'm definitely doing it this week.
Wee question,
yes.
What sort of date this? Kind of what?
So I want to go back to, so if COVID, I have to backtrack, that's how in the present I always am. So if COVID was 6 years ago?
Yeah.
So it would have been 2 years before that.
Right, okay. Right, so
2 years before COVID.
2017 roughly.
Yep.
Okay.
And I mean, and I knew in my head this was happening, this was what was going to be next.
Right.
But, you know, you're not naive enough to think that you just make that decision and off you go with the planning and the prepping and all that kind of stuff. You know, you still have to have the complete approval and have had the conversation. So that's probably the hardest bit, isn't it? Like getting the words out and saying the things. So, and also it's on an academy day where, you know, like it's an unbelievably busy day. You've got trainees that you're responsible for from 9 in the morning to 5 at night and trying to find the time to go to the toilet, never mind go and have a really serious conversation with Alan and Linda is hard to find the time to do that. But there was just one particular Wednesday that I was like, right, now's the moment. I've got the time. The kids are all doing their thing. Some of them are away on their lunch. I do have a minute. And if I don't do it now, who knows when that might be. Yeah. So wandered up Alan's desk and, you know, Alan's busy doing his paperwork. And I was like, Alan, can I have a sec? And he's like, absolutely, Tara, you know, how can I help you? And I was like, well, I want a salon.
Right.
And I'm not sure what the protocol is for that, whether we're doing more franchises, you know, are we at the cap? I mean, I've not had that level of conversation with anyone. And I think that's a really interesting thing because I think also a lot of people might be in the place where that's something they're thinking, but they don't even know if it's an option. Is it an option?
Yeah.
I very possibly could have had that conversation and Alan could have been like, no, we're capped out. That's us
course,
for now. We're not opening
yeah.
any more franchises. So I had to be somewhat prepared for that as well. So Alan was like, right, okay. This is serious. You know, you've been thinking about this for a while. And I was like, yeah. He's like, let me get Linda together and we'll get back in touch with you and we'll have a conversation. But this is interesting. I mean, that word when Alan says it, you know, you're like, I don't really know what that means. And then I just, you know, turn around, tuck my tail and go back and carry on doing the rest of my day with like my heart like totally beating out my chest and like, because I've had the conversation now. So regardless, it means something, doesn't it?
Oh, you've taken the dive.
You know, so you're either finding out that this has got the potential to be the next chapter of your life or it's not. Mm-hmm. And if it's not, how do you then fill that void in your life? What does that look like? Mm-hmm. So I then got a phone call of let's set up a meeting. Mm-hmm. And going to a meeting with Alan and Linda and we have the conversation about what does this look like, what do I want from it, what do I think this is going to be. You know, they're interviewing me in a way where it's really important because I think they have to know what is it that you think this is going to look like, you know, what might you want from this, why do you want to do this? And then you're going through the actual logistical conversations of location and, you know, go and do a business plan and what does your team size look like and what does your potential clientele look like, and, you know, you're doing a bit of background work on all of that. And over the next couple of years, We do a lot of looking at different venues, different locations, different areas, ruling places out, spending a lot of time on things that in my head I'm like, this doesn't feel right, but I can't just say this doesn't feel right. I have to still, because I could be wrong, I don't know.
Of course.
You know, I'm just doing the thing that you're meant to do to get to that place. So, and this is all on your days off. This is all, you know, you're still running your clients, you're still doing your whole thing, but there's this sideline in your head where any opportunity of a property becoming available or an area that you think a rainbow room would be really well situated there. And do I need to move address? Is this something that I'm not going to be able to make a commute? Like, it's a whole conversation, family, as well as with Alan and Linda as well. So we go through quite a lot of really interesting locations and meetings and conversations, and then it kind of dies off a little bit because nothing's really coming up.
Did you ever have so if you rewind to the idea that, John, it had to be there.
Yes.
My salon had to be there. And the likes of, to a certain extent, Adrian was like, well, I wanted to either be, and that he wanted to be the south side, and he saw the potential of that. But did you have it must be, or were you open to?
No, I was open. If I had a magic wand, it would have been Byers Road.
Right, okay. Yeah.
Understandably, quarter of a mile from the Great Western Road Salon and 2 miles from, so that I knew that was never going to be a thing, but my head would always bounce back to why not? And I understand because I know that the client blah blah blah, but if you actually sit in a coffee shop or a car on Byers Road and you look at the flow of traffic and the volume of traffic and the volume of people, and then you know, you see the annual reports of how well the salons are doing, and you're like, right, okay, so they're doing that amount of clients, but that's not all of this area.
Oh, of course.
So how could, because also I'm going, well, you've got Royal Exchange Square, you've got, you know, George Square, you've got Buchanan Street, Howard Street, you know, all of this kind of stuff. And I'm like, I get how not, but also how not, you know. So I, in my own head, I would do a lot of back and forward. Meanwhile, reaching out to much further places away. And then always, because in the back of my head, I was always like, I really don't want to lose my whole clientele to do it. Yeah. And I'm very aware that I've built a really solid clientele, and that's your joy, isn't it? That's your people at that point. Because if I was opening a brand new salon, all the people were going to be new people in terms of staff. There was going to be a lot of new people in terms of clients. So I was like, and then I don't get to have my clientele. Yeah. So that was there. And it was something that I was willing to obviously compromise on, because you have to, if the other thing was the thing and it gave you that feeling. But none of the other locations, none of the other premises or anything like that we looked at was like, wow, this is going to make it. And then obviously COVID hit.
Yep.
And then off the back of COVID, we were taking our time. We were still checking in, we were still having meetings, but we were taking our time to see what does the industry look like post-COVID, and prices and properties and places were opening up and closing constantly, you know, off the back end of COVID and stuff. And
scary time in your own really head to make such a jump as well, you know, because you're sitting, you know, we had no security, we had no... You know, you're talking about why, but you're living in a moment of what if as well. Yeah. You know, so that's a really sort of bold time to kind of make any jump anyway. So it's understandable that you wouldn't, you know, whether it's yourself, whether it's Alan and Linda, would be prepared to just make such a huge jump, because you know none of us really don't care what anybody says. Yeah. As much as yes, people fell back in love with us. Yeah. Other than that, we didn't know what was happening, did we? Yeah,
no, for sure. And I definitely think that's an experience that everyone had, isn't it? Quite a, I mean, everyone had a different experience, but it's quite a traumatic experience, the whole kind of, you know, COVID thing. And as I say, up until I took 12 weeks off to have my baby, I started working when I was 15, and I never had any. I mean, I remember we got the phone call that we were shutting on the Saturday. Right. The decision was made, you know, like prior to there being a government decision. Right. Our brand made the decision that on the Saturday, listen, we're going to need to shut down until we know more. And I genuinely remember laughing on the drive home and being like, we are going to be open again on Tuesday. I can't even believe I'm not due back into Tuesday anyway. I'm not even going to take this seriously, because our industry, like, we are very much if you're not in doing the client, you're not paying the bills. And my brain couldn't fathom furloughs and all. I mean, I didn't even know things like that existed. So I was just like, I understand we're trying to make the right decision.
None of us did.
I understand we're trying to make what we think is the right decision. But in my head, I was just like, it's not even an option, you know. And then obviously the thing done what it done, and that was a whole different thing. But yeah, off the back end of that, there was definitely a lot of people were quite wary and a lot of trauma, and people also weighed up the whole, like, what do they actually want from their career and their job. And you know, there was a lot of people that it was the first time ever in their life they had a period of time not working in a salon and not working as part of a team, and salons really changed after that as well, because some people were like, I don't know if I want to go back to that. So even in the aftermath of that, when we came back, there was still quite a lot of change in the industry, in regards to people, you know, setting up on their own and doing their own thing, and thinking that at that point that might be a more stable way forward for them. But now we're coming to a place where people have done that for a period of time, and they've recognised that they don't have the team morale, they don't have the culture, they don't have the education, they don't have the same passion and drive of bouncing off the people that are round about you. So I'm noticing a shift in a real like value in the salon experience as a staff member, as well as what that kind of offers clients as well.
I know that's a bit of a sideline, but kind of the idea, I talk about it all the time to people about these sort of 5-year, my whole history in hairdressing. I look back at all these 5-year chunks, and with Rainbow Room about to, you know, we're in our 47th year, you know, so the 50-year thing's coming, and this idea that the next best, greatest thing has always appeared within my 37 years in the brand, and this is going to be the thing, or this salon's opened, or this stylist is here. And I see all these 5-year cycles where they're either they're it for 5 years, or that salon's it for 5 years, or that brand's it. Technique, product, equipment, whatever it is, and you see that, and we're definitely at the end of that 5-year of either being on yourself, or, you know, not having the backup if you are in a collective or whatever, you know. So for everybody sort of dissing the sort of salon model, you know, what we are seeing just now is that it's returning.
Yeah,
returning
and that's
back
clients as well as you know, staff
Definitely.
members, clients that are like, I'm forever being let down, or the experience is just not, it's not as luxury, and I would rather maybe come a little bit less, but come somewhere that's really reliable, that's luxury, that's giving me great ideas about, you know, the next looks and trends and what's kind of coming up next.
Just the energy, isn't it?
For
You
sure.
want to go in somewhere with energy. So at what point then did Great Western Road become an option in that journey?
Yeah, so that was three years ago, past January. The conversation happened, where you know, Alan and Linda, because we were doing regular check-ins like every kind of couple of weeks. If things went a wee bit flat in terms of emails and phone calls about ideas, every couple of weeks we would have a wee kind of check-in in the academy as well anyway. So as far as I was aware, it was one of those check-ins again. Linda was like, end of the day today, if you're, you know, if you can fit us in, wee conversation when you finish up. Absolutely. And then was presented with the Great Western Road. John and Joe are thinking that actually they're going to move, you know, into a different role in the brand, and that the salon in Great Western Road would need a director. And I'm not joking, like, it was like the cat that got the cream. I'm trying to be really like professional, and I'm trying to be really business, and I'm trying to be really like, almost like in my head, okay, I'll take that. I'll get back to you. I'll weigh that up. I'll have a think about that. And yep, this certainly seems to tick a lot of boxes.
Right.
But I wasn't prepared for that. I wasn't prepared for that at all, because well, 2 miles, maybe 3 miles from the Crow Road Salon. Yeah. So in my head, I'm like, oh my God, well, all of these things are firing in my brain, where I'm like, this is the magic moment, where I'm like, that gut feeling of it couldn't have been any better. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, I'll go home and I'll have a wee think about this. But yes, and I don't know whether I was hiding my glee at all, but I felt like I kind of was.
Right. Try to play it cool.
And again, like the fact that you're going into deeper business with a brand, that when they've got directors of a brand that want to change their role within the company, the conversation is, what I'm seeing is like, how amazing are they? They're facilitating this. They're not like, you know, that's not an option for you, or if that's what you want to do, then this is your only option. It's like, okay, the conversation was like, well, what do you want, John and Joe? What you're looking for from this? Yeah. And that was then facilitated to make it work for them. Yeah. So again, it's just like,
Alan and Linda are the king and queen of what if.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, well, what if? Right?
Yeah.
Here's what's presented itself.
Yeah.
I mean, Alan you know, even back in the day when he just opened the Big Howard Street Academy, and we were walking back up the road to Buchanan Street, and I was like, how does it feel to actually achieve what you've achieved? And he went, I still just think I've started. I don't see it as that. You know, and he's always been forward thinking, and to get him to reminisce, never mind getting him in to do the podcast, but even the level of reminiscing that was getting done at Congress is quite rare for Alan. He doesn't really look back, you know. He kind of looks forward all the time. So even at that point, he was just like, oh no, we're not anywhere near the end of the journey or anything like that. And his ability to either give people a second chance, a third chance, some people a fourth chance, no grudges ever held about anything like that. And just this idea of how can I facilitate what you want. And
it makes you feel like the brand's kind of quite organic, and it makes you feel like it's moving with the times in the right ways.
100%. It's got a structure that keeps us safe, which has allowed us to be a 50-year nearly brand. And that's what I say, that's why we've survived all those 5-year dips and troughs and changes in the culture. But because there's that core structure there, that absolutely works. And we've all signed up for it. We all believe in it. There's nobody else's name above the door. So a bit like when you said your first day on the Wednesday, which was your real first day, you already felt part of the brand because it didn't say John and Joe's Snippy Snip Snips up. You know, you instantly become that member of Rainbow International because the minute a client comes in and they see you, and whether you're behind the desk, whether you're doing a shiatsu or whatever, you're Mr. or Mrs. Rainbow Room by that point because they don't know the big structure. So I think that's really unique. And again, you joined for the reason that there was a progression and a movement and a plan to where you get to. And the idea that actually you witness firsthand going, well, if I get to the end of even my directorship, there's still an option for me to move into a different role as a director or an educator or whatever. So again, that's pretty unique. So, big shoes to fill. Yeah. 4 big shoes to fill. Yeah. And definitely a kind of a vibe that goes with them. Yeah. You know, did you find that daunting? Did you find that a challenge? Or because you grew up with them, you felt that it would just be a sort of continuation?
Again, it was one of those kind of like full circle moments because John was who hired me. Yeah. You know, I went to Great Western Road for my secondary interview, and we'd go up to the Great Western Road Salon for night classes, and John would work down in Crow Road sometimes. Joe obviously was consistently working down at Crow Road for a period of time, and a lot of our team nights out would be, you know, as the 2 salons together. So there always was a bit of a kind of Crow Road, Great Western Road merge that would happen through a period of time. So I was very much aware of John's work ethic standards, the type of team that he really nurtured and built, and you know, there was definitely elements of that in who I was, or am as a hairdresser as well. So definitely. There's pros and cons to all of that, because when you do know, sometimes it's like, right, well, how do you put your stamp on it? Whereas if you're walking into an environment that you're taking over, and that person's no longer there, you're just doing your thing, and then you're figuring out how that works. But to say the handover was really fantastic. I went up most Saturdays from 3 o'clock and just sat in a chair and just watched and observed and saw the team operate and popped in. I was able to go up and get things moving with just you know, upgrading some things or kind of tweaking some things. That I was able to go in and do that as well. So slowly but surely, because I mean, it was like 3 months. Was it 5 months? It was about 5 months, between the initial conversation with Alan and Linda. It was 5 months to then me opening the doors. Wow, but probably only 3 months of people actually knowing.
Right, which is really interesting, because obviously most of us have had that having to get the salon built period. And in my case, it was, you know, there was a bit of a disaster for a while. So I was about 4 months late actually getting open. Wow. So you'd went through all the period of, a bit like yourself, you know, because initially we were looking at Dublin and they were going to fire me over to Ireland. And then kind of, well, that wasn't going to work. And then the different places would pop up, and then all of a sudden the opportunity for air popped up. And I thought it was going to be dead quick because it had already been in plan, and the whole thing had been designed and ready to go, and they had allegedly a lot of planning. But that particular council at the time was pretty famous for being difficult to get all the planning done. So it ended up that's what happened. So I had a whole period of, I had a whole team working in Buchanan Street as a separate team.
Wow.
So I had all my stylists, had all my assistants. My brother was already working as a part-time receptionist. But basically, Alan had my whole team.
And again, what other brand would facilitate that?
Nobody. Absolutely nobody.
So that you've got the opportunity to hit the ground running.
Yeah. And God love him, because he had 4 more months. I just imagine it now myself.
Yeah.
I just think, where are you finding the money for this other amount of team? Don't get me wrong, Buchanan Street was still at that point where people were bursting through the door to get in. So my guys could scoop the clients up, and that was fine. What was difficult for me is they did not want to work in Glasgow. It was alien to me, the idea of going, you're getting to work in here and you're getting to see all these people and you're getting to learn the brand. And probably what happened was it actually made opening the salon better, because it was almost like an old school. They've been away vardering for 6 months and they've come back to here, so people could see the difference of, well, you used to work round the corner, but you weren't like that when you worked round the corner. So I was lucky that way.
So again, you're saying that my situation's unique, but it seems like
Yeah,
we've all had a bit of a
they've all been different.
unique hand.
So you're sitting at 3 months, and then, obviously you've got these Saturdays and afternoons and getting your head round. So again, unique, because the salon was a working salon on Saturday night.
Yes.
And that was the end of that Rainbow Room period. And then you were taking your stylist educator hat on and off, and putting your director hat on at that Saturday night to get the place set up for it to be yours on Sunday morning.
And then the overlap of having the columns active, so clients could book in and be pre-booked for that from the Sunday onwards. And that was a really interesting one as well. I had clients that were like, I want to be your first client. And that was a really sweet, because I think up until that point, I've always been very aware of like what we offer the clients, and that it's their experience in the chair, and it's all about what we can provide them with and create the experience for them with their look and also their feelings and the experience that makes them want to come back. But then all of a sudden, clients were saying things to me, and I was a bit like, oh my God, I'm taken aback here. Like, that just made my heart flutter a wee bit. I don't, I never.
They've been so part of your journey, and they've followed you through. Again, obviously the girls at Uddingston, the client, she was 100% going to be the first client.
Yeah.
She turned up with a cake, right? And in my case, it was Mrs. Hamilton. Mrs. Hamilton was a model that would come to the academy on a Wednesday morning, right? So my entire generation passed their Firefly, a root tint, and a round brush blow dries on, style dries on Mrs. Hamilton, right? All of us, right? And she was unbelievable, this woman, right? She was in there every Wednesday morning, and we all looked after her. She was the first person I saw coming out the chapel when I got married the first time.
Wow.
She was standing right there, and she got driven down by somebody so that she could get her hair cut in the first day. She wasn't my first client in the salon, just the way it opened, but she was in that first week, and she had to be part of that journey.
And isn't that amazing?
You can't forget that. You can't forget that. And as much as, yes, our job is to give, I don't think clients 100% realise how much they do give back.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. And that then only makes us want to be better, try harder, and look after them even more. So, can you remember that night? Or was it like a blocked out?
Yeah, it was a bit mad. It was a bit mad because even although there was this really seamless kind of handover, like this nervous energy like never before. And this, like, you know how when you're standing on a Saturday morning and you know that your column is like beyond rammed and you're dead excited for it to start, but it's 10 to 9, nobody's in yet, and you've got like this real like, I need to get going, but right now I can't do anything, and actually what I need to do is sleep. But I don't want to sleep. I want to be there right now, and I want to get ready to get going. So we were in the salon with a couple of tradesmen and my husband, and getting all the stock in and put away and getting everything prepped and getting the card machine set up so that we could, because again, I'm like, it is all about the money. If we open up tomorrow and we can't take a payment, do you know, like that is, and I'm like, it's a Sunday, how do these things roll over? And all of these details that I've never had to think about before. No. But again, it was my memory of it, even though it was only, you know, just under 3 years ago, my memory of it, that it was it was pretty balanced, and it was pretty controlled, and it was pretty well organised. And I think we were in there until about 11 o'clock at night. It wasn't late.
Yeah.
It wasn't late by any means. And
I love that
we were in
I love
there.
you're saying it's not late, right? And everybody else will be listening to this or watching this going, what do you mean you were in there at 11 o'clock, you know, that way?
Yeah.
But it is
But
what
the
you
thing
need
that
to
I
do.
did do was every single morning for the next, I want to say 6 months, give or take, I was in there at like 7:30, 8.
Yeah. Oh,
So I was like, is the heating on? Is the water running? Is the music on? Is the salon a good temperature? Are the chairs pointing in the right direction? All of these wee details that you could do in 3 minutes when you open up the salon.
Yeah.
But I was like, what if? Of
course.
So I would be in the salon like 7:30 in the morning so that then I could be calm and I could be ready, because you're doing hair. You're not just leading the team and running the salon. So then I had to have when my client walks in the door at 9 o'clock, I now can't afford for anybody's experience to feel lesser than they would have got if I wasn't running the salon.
100%.
Because you do hear stories about, oh, well, you know, I used to go to this person and they owned the salon, but I was just sick of them leaving me to go and answer the phone. Or so I was always hyper aware that like the minute that my client's in the chair, I'm just a stylist.
Yeah.
I'm just a stylist. And I think that's actually a really good attitude to have, because it means that when you're operating with your clients, it's fair. And it's not everybody giving it, oh, well, that you know, she's a director, so she needs the free assistance and I'm not allowed to use that because that's her thing. You know, it literally is like when whoever has the clients in the chair is the priority over and above
100%.
whatever else is happening in the salon. Whoever wants to, you know, adjust the music or the temperature, if it's the people who've got clients in the salon, they're the people who get to make those decisions.
No,
and
100%.
empower everybody,
Yeah.
you know. So that's definitely something that I kind of
I mean, Alan used to,
about.
so Monday to Wednesday, he wouldn't take clients.
Mm.
But later on in my time with him, and that was, he would have his business hat on. So he'd be running the salon, running the brand ultimately. And then Thursday to Saturday, he was stylist Alan.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't, the phone calls wouldn't get put through. So if they phoned reception and said, sorry, Alan's got a full call today, phone back Monday, or we'll schedule a meeting and all that. Because we had a separate diary for that, so that was taken in.
Sensible.
For that very reason. And again, it's just one of the things that subliminally just sits in there, because you just go, and we've got to watch because we're so close to the desk.
Yes.
And it's easy
You
to
can
take.
hear it.
It's easy to take the call, and it's easy to answer it, and you go, no. I'm not doing it. You know, that way. The only person that gets through that veil, quite frankly, is my mum. She's the only one that she gets through that veil. But I do not take it. What I don't do, and I'm not very good at, is I need to take the day off to be that guy and be the guy that just sits behind the desk all day and do that. But that's a unique thing. So your initial period, I mean, it's for anybody that's listening or watching that has ran a business and has taken that leap of faith. It is unbelievable, and there's highs and lows within the first 4 weeks. Never mind all the years that you have a business. But that initial adrenaline rush, along with I'm in charge of all of these other people's, because you get a wee bit of imposter syndrome as well, because you're sitting going, why me? Why have I been given this opportunity? Because you already forget all the sacrifices and all the hard work, and all the planning.
See, I don't get that. I don't know, maybe I do, but it's in a different way, or maybe I just word it differently. I just feel I don't get imposter syndrome because I don't feel like I am at the top of anything. I feel like I've got a responsibility. I now feel like, okay, it's my job is to do these things for these people to make their dreams come true, make their opportunities available to them, and allow them have the best experience that they can possibly have. It's more of a I have to do this, but also now I have to do that. And it's not that so that I can sit back and rest on anything. No. It's just more and more and more. And it's more work that you're doing. And then when you see the reward that they have for themselves, then, or maybe just like, I don't get a minute right now to think and feel that way. Maybe that'll come in time. Yeah. But it's more of a duty and a responsibility that I feel top over and above anything else.
Yeah. No, definitely. Because it is, we wouldn't be doing it right.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't be looking after them And it's back to the same thing you were talking about educating. Somebody taught you, you felt that you had to give that back. You know, we've been lucky enough to be chaperoned, moulded, trained, educated in such a way by a whole group of individuals that, well, quite frankly, everybody after us has to be made to feel that way and have those opportunities too. And, you know, the fact you're getting it straight away, you know, and you're feeling that straight away is hugely important. It was a positive start, wasn't it?
No,
I mean,
it was a really positive start. It was a really busy start, a really positive start. As I say, I had the benefit that, you know, such a high percentage of my clientele was able to come with me because of the location change. One of the things that I wasn't expecting was a lot of my clients I'd been, you know, servicing for a long time, and by them making the shift geographically of where they were coming to have their hair done, totally new conversations were happening with clients that I was getting dead passionate and excited about because it's a kind of residential high street studenty vibe round about the Great Western Road Salon, and so many of my clients were like, I've not been in this street since I was at uni.
Hilarious.
But I know them as a mother that lives in Jordan Hill with 2 kids that's doing the school run, and that would normally be the kind of conversations that would be kind of happening. But all of a sudden they were reminiscing, and they were going, God, I maybe was in here 20 years ago having my hair done when I was a student, and you know, I had the fringe and I had, you know, so I was getting a really, really, really interesting insight to a chapter of their life I thought I knew. You know, because I'd been doing them for so long and seen them, you know, every kind of 6 weeks through having their kids and all that kind of stuff, but it was a different chapter of their life. So you're getting that version of them. So that was really eye-opening. That was a massive experience. Also, because I was doing the 7 days, I obviously did not have a 7-day-a-week clientele. So I had my 4-day-a-week clientele because I was in the academy one day, but then the other 3 days were filled with brand new clients. By the way, that's humbling. You think you want to understand what your young team go through with every consultation being a brand new consultation with a personality you don't know, a hair type that you don't know, the standards that clients are expecting nowadays with their AI images of what they want their hair to look like, and your face has to maintain approachable in a conversation where you're like, that's a cartoon character, what do you mean? Like, that's just not going to happen, you know. And we're lucky enough that we've developed our skills so well that we can get the client on board with us, and we can narrow that journey to where the client should be going on that day reasonably efficiently and quickly without hurting the client's feelings. But it really, I mean, it took me down to ground level in regards to this gig has changed when you're a brand new hairdresser and you're trying to develop your clientele because people are different. And as much as we like to say what we are offering is the same as what it was, you know, but the standards, yes. But in terms of the emotional feeling that clients are looking for when they come in to get their hair done, or the way that they cross-check something you're telling them on their phone while they're sitting there, and you can see that, you know. And obviously your loyal client that you've been doing for 20 years isn't doing that. They're probably also of a different generation, but it's interesting when 3 of your 7 days a week are that.
I think
all of a sudden,
I think
you know,
it's interesting because I underestimated, or I blocked that out of my own journey because I was far enough away that I would get the odd client on a Saturday or an odd client on a Thursday night that was still old school clients. But I did ultimately have to say cheerio to, you know, my clientele. And I didn't, it's not that I'd struggled with it because we were instantly so busy that you didn't have time to think about it. And a bit like yourself, it was 6 days at the time. We didn't go 7 days until I was a year in. And so you're in all 6 days and you're doing that, but the consultations were completely different. Managing expectations because you were a town salon that had come into an area. But one of the things I think, what's really interesting in your journey is, so yourself and Will have a similar thing in that coming from within Rainbow Room, taking over established salons that have, you know, obviously Buchanan Street and Great Western Road having huge reputations. So having an insight to the brand, but ultimately different bricks and mortar. And for all you're a mile and a half away, it could be a completely different place in comparison to Crow Road. Whereas you get somebody like Yaz and Dylan that grew up in that salon and they took over that one. So they don't have that bit where all of a sudden this is different and the clients are different. Yes, they may be then taking over different clients because Linda's not there or stylists have left because they didn't enjoy the handover, whatever the reason is. But the idea that you're in different bricks and mortar with the same name above the door is quite interesting to deal with.
And it was incredibly exciting and really humbling, and I think it allowed me to, because my team's really young. You know, they're qualified. I mean, been with the company 5 years, maybe qualified 3 years or less, and it really does create a parallel of, you know, I get it. You know, when you're trying to build your clientele and you're struggling with these issues, I had 3 of them today as well. Whereas I think when you're a director and your core clientele is your core clientele and that's filling your books all the time and you're not ever experiencing, and I don't just mean 1 or 2, I mean like 3 days a week of those types of clients. And you're trying to navigate these consultations and you're like, well, I've got the skills and I should be able to figure this out and I should be able to, you know, even just understand what this client's trying to say. That actually, like, how difficult is it for them? You know, they get shown a picture of a colour and it's a root smudge with a baby lights on the mid-lengths and then full saturation blonde on the ends and toned, you know, dimension. Like, the clients are saying all of these things. When I first qualified, clients got a full head highlights, half head highlights, T-bar, tint. You know, so clients would say, I want to go blonder. They didn't really have a reference photo and an expectation that I've been looking at that picture for the last 6 months every day, and I've saved up my money to come to you and get my hair done, and I kind of want to leave looking like, see when you zoom in on the photo and there's that wee tiny bit of blonde there that the light's bouncing off, that's the colour I want. And they have to, like, I think if they say we can't give you that, they think that means you're not capable of it. But trying to get them to understand that actually having the conversation that that's not achievable, because even on that one person's head of hair, they've zoomed into a strand, so she doesn't have that all over. Trying to, it's a different thing.
There's also a camera crew that's taking that photo.
Well, exactly, and that was on that particular day when the hair was styled a certain kind of way. So I think that
I've had my first ever ChatGPT like full consultation where the girl had put all her images into AI and told it what she wanted and what she wanted to achieve. Was that the right thing for her hair? Was it not the right thing for her hair? And then it spelled out colour palette, colour tone, colour application, haircut, and styling. The whole thing. And the terrifying thing was it was 100% correct. It was the right tone for her. It was the right thing. What it did do is oversubscribe colour technique, which brought it back to us being human beings, because, you know, fabulously our bill would have been about like 800 quid or something like that, because it was just everything. And also it didn't leave a hair journey that we would understand, go, well, that's all great and I can do that for you today, but if you want to then go to here and here, well, you can't do that because you've got that colour there, or you've got that tone there. So it didn't leave that for her. And
also what they don't understand is they have to have input the right information. They have to have diagnosed their hair appropriately. They have to know the texture, the density, the condition, you know, their regrowth, how many greys they've got, what their percentage. So if they get one of those slightly wrong, they're going off in a totally different trajectory. Because I remember that when there was an option where there was this online company and you could input the colour your hair was and the colour you want to be, and it would send you the kit. And then you would do it at home, assuming that you do your appropriate skin testing and that you apply it properly and the development time and all of these kind of things. And I think that we sometimes don't emphasise to clients enough, because we become so capable of doing what we're doing, how technical it all actually is. You know, get one of those questions wrong and it's a totally different trajectory that it takes you off in, you know, so it's a totally different end result.
Well, again, that coming back from COVID, I think was a huge reset for people that had a clientele forever. And even though you knew the person, you were ultimately having to look at their hair for the first time again. And I think we were 2 weeks after England had opened up.
Yeah.
So you were already getting, you know, from friends down south and from business partners and from Schwarzkopf, the pitfalls of what they were going through. Everything was taking 3 times longer because you were doing 3 times the work. You had all the crimes of whatever they'd done to their hair, all the crimes of what they hadn't done to their hair. Sun left. So everything had to be, listen, forget your record card. Forget what you've done before. And whether that client has been a 30-year client or it's their first time coming to you, you need to start again because everything that you've done before is gone. So the idea that every day was like your 3 days for that period, the only benefit you had is at least you knew who the person was and you'd been on a bit of a journey with them. How quickly did you manage to sort of compartmentalise salon owner, still educator within the salon, and stylist? How quickly did those roles sort of differentiate themselves for you?
I don't know I have yet.
Yeah.
I don't know that I actually have yet because a day is so full and it's very difficult to, at the moment where we're at, not be so invested in the team that's there and lead them all into the right positions that's appropriate for them, but also balances what's appropriate for the business and let that happen while I'm doing my other thing. I would say every day I'm still juggling all of that. But much better now. I mean, the first 6 months, I mean, I was working 7 days a week and 8 in the morning to 8 at night, and then that's not like 7:30, 8 in the morning to 8 o'clock at night. It's not an over exaggeration.
No.
That literally what it is what it was. And I remember there being a moment where Becca, I think it was me and Becca that were working together, and then obviously we shut the salon. It was a Sunday, so we finished at 4:30 on a Sunday, and she was like, "Let's go a drive." Because I was literally just going home, literally showering, eating, going to bed, getting up the next morning, doing the same thing. Like, there was no social, there was no, like, don't even, like, I'm not even going out for that. Like, none of that was happening. So she was like, let's go a drive and we'll go a walk. And I thought, I do have a space for that in my life? Do I have the time and the energy? And what's the knock-on effect of that going to be tomorrow? And then I thought, right, okay, go with it. I've actually probably not been available as a mum in the last, X amount of months. So let's do it. So we drove out to Loch Lomond, and it's unbelievably refreshing. The sky was blue. I felt the best I had ever felt in, the last few months. Human being, all of that, seeing daylight again. And I'm walking along and I'm like, is that Jackie?
That's right.
I've seen Jackie, and I'm like, am I just seeing people from work whenever I go? Do you know what is happening here? And I approach her and she walks towards me and she's like, you're not sleeping? And I was like, this is the best I've felt, Jackie. What do you mean? Really? So the fact that she could like just instantly see that in my face, that I was like exhausted. And then, I was totally confronting my daughter, I clearly needed this, like this, like that, just space away from work for a moment. So I'm not there. No. Like I'm much more balanced in that, and I've found a system for a lot of things, and we've built the team up in a really fabulous way where they've got different roles and responsibilities now, and watching them come through and take some of those responsibilities and really shine in those departments has been exceptional, because they're really ready for it, and they get excited when they're able to take a task that would normally be a task of mine and be like, I've been able to do that for you, and I've been able to go, you have a coffee between clients because you're not having to run over and answer that email. I've got it. It really feels like they've got me as much as I've got them. So I'm learning that, but it's still on my mind at all times for sure. But I've definitely got a much better balance and system to it. But I'm still not there where I can say, today I'm a stylist. And today I've got a full column today. I've got 8 cuts and colours in. If I'm not going to get moments to answer emails at that point, I will go in the hour early and stay back the hour late to do the thing, because it means that I'm available for those things. I might not need to do it, but I know I've got the time to do it. So I
struggle with the in-between. Because I had to cut my hours down with everything that happened, I find it really hard to do to take my hairdresser hat off, put the manager hat on, to the point where genuinely I physically did it in the office, where I'd physically have another hat, take it off and put that on and go, right, you know. And I've worked with people and saying it takes 15 minutes for that brain to go and put that one in. I find that difficult, whereas the hour, you know, I'll never do an hour before. It's never going to happen, right?
Yeah.
I'm terrible in the mornings. But again, the all night thing, not a problem. From 8 o'clock till midnight, like, just leave me to do it, and that's fine. And that's kind of, I've actually done a wee bit of research on that, about how my own brain works and why that works for me. And it's not actually just something that is just because. There's actually an absolute 100% reason in the way that my brain works that I can produce my best work between 9 o'clock at night and midnight. Is bizarre, you know what I mean? Because it shouldn't be. You should be tired and exhausted, and it shouldn't be working. But it's the fact that you're finally let it free to just go, this one thing now. But I liken it a bit to being like a captain of a football team as opposed to being the manager of a football team or the head coach, because you're in it.
Yes.
And not only have you got to look after your position, and you've got to make sure that you're not making any mistakes and you're progressing the team forward, but you're also looking around going, right, you're in your position and you're in your position, right, I've got to keep this whole collective. I need to push them and give them, you know, support when I need to. I need to reprimand them if they're not, you know, you didn't tackle that guy, or you didn't do this, that. And I think that's when you're in it, and where you're at, especially in that first 5 years, you are that player captain, player manager role, and that's what you're doing. And then it's how do you free up enough time to then start to, I need to be in the boardroom. You know, that you kind of like that. Some people are brilliant at it. Some people never achieve it. Yeah. You know, and they're on the floor forever. But again, we're looking at Alan and Linda. We're growing up underneath them, and ultimately that's what they did. Linda still has her scissors in her hands. Alan gave his up at 99, but only once he knew he had this absolute secure body of work to move into. And it will come from you, because you are, you know, everything that's jumping out from you about how you're thinking about it, how you got to the point where you got to, it's not going to be forever. You're going to have a plan, and you'll definitely get there. But it's you know, it's other people seeing you and going, you know, you're only seeing the increments of you either getting tired or exhausted and all that. But if somebody else coming in and going, by the way, you need your kit, you need a couple of days off.
But it's also watching the team grow organically as well, and see where their strengths are, and see what they get excited and passionate about doing above and beyond what is doing their clients. Yeah. You know, so I suppose where earlier we spoke about how Rainbow Room itself has been organic like that, in terms of allowing people to move into the positions that they want to move into and create a space for that. Yeah. It's the same, you know, you're trying to quietly sit back, take on all the load initially. Yeah. Figure that out, put systems in place for that, but then see who has a strength in a particular area, and slowly but surely figure out if that could work for them to have more responsibility in that. So that takes time. You know, and I'm lucky enough that although walking into a salon that already pre-existed, it's a really new team. And a really exciting team. So they've got a lot of development to be had, and there's a lot of areas that I think they don't even necessarily know themselves that they have got strengths in, but you're just quietly sitting back, nurturing them, you know, for where they're at right now and what their abilities are, but also just seeing where they feel comfortable and where they fit. And that whole kind of, you know, their goals fit the business goals in whatever capacity that is. So
and do you find that the Kaizen approach helps
massively
with that you see that it's just that little bit better than you were before?
100%. And I think also that allows you to remove ego from any conversation that you may feel hurts your pride about this is done this way, or could we do it that way, or, you know, have we thought about there's this new technique for this, where you very easily could be very proud over what you've created. And you know I've always done it that way, and I created it that way, or this is what's worked for best for me. But actually, as soon as you throw Kaizen into the sentence when you're saying the thing, it's like, actually that worked well for a period of time in the way that it did, but who's to say it couldn't be improved upon? And I think making sure that your assistant day one gets to have an input on conversations because they're seeing it through a different set of eyes as well. It's not to say that you're giving them that, you know, you get control of the situation, but certainly your opinion and your input is valid because you might see something that we just don't because we've been in it every day for the last, you know, 3 years. So that's actually really exciting. And I think when these ideas come from your team, they fit the environment really well.
But again, that's, you know, the constant thing that comes out from Alan and Linda was always empowering the young. It wasn't, you know, if they wanted to change the culture and the brand, they didn't go to the old crew because they did do it. Oh, I do it that way. I'm making plenty of money. I'm happy. You know, why should I change?
Yeah.
But obviously, Alan and Linda are going, yeah, but in 5 years' time, it's going to be this. So we need to get ahead of that to get you there. So, okay, right, well, you're not going to do that. That's fine. So I need this crew, whether they were 16, 17, 18, and it's like, well, we're doing shiatsu or we're applying, you know, moisturiser in the hand or, you know, whatever it was they wanted to do. They would never be scared to empower. What they never did was dump.
Yep.
Just go, well, you do that now.
Yep.
Go on with it. They would always either educate, they would always nurture and bring us through. But again, having that unique experience of getting to go to Japan and seeing the idea of Kaizen, my picture of it and how it was sort of educated to me, but actually get to see it in a culture, you know, and right through it was unbelievable, and it just reignited the passion to make sure that, well, we need to make sure we're doing it because it is our thing. You know, the old award was named after, you know, the logo was named after it, the product range was named after it. It is that important, and I think as well, because you're still right in the eye of the storm of creating this first team and creating this business, that's just an absolute integral part. You're now into this sort of period where you've got this group and there's a level of stability.
Yeah.
Don't want to say it. I mean, thank God the table's made of wood, right? And you've got that, and now it's about, right, where do I see it going next? How are you positioning yourself for that part of your journey?
I mean, we're massively invested in the young team coming through, and we've got a really, really, really everything that we are offering to our stylists, whether it be opportunities, development, courses. Our trainees are going on those. There's not a, you know, I'm a certain level of stylist and this is only available to me. If you're excited or passionate about something and you're willing to put that extra level of effort in, come now. Because my thought is, if you know now what they've learnt 5 years into doing hair, that I learnt 20 years into doing hair, like imagine how exceptional you're going to be. And I've been in the industry long enough to know that you can't settle on what you've done last year or what you've done last month, because there's so many variables that you're not in control of, and that's probably one of the hardest things for someone like me, is recognising that there's going to be constant change. But it's to an extent, it's somewhat controlled change. You know, if you look at things statistically, you know, someone might leave your team and that doesn't feel very controlled. But if you look at the statistics of how long you keep a full team, you're prepared for that in advance. So you're always ready for the people coming through. And if you keep them all and they're exceptionally talented and they really maintain that culture and value what you've created, then that is... exceptional, but you've always got to be planning and preparing. You're
back to those 5 year increments again. You know, it's like the British average as a stylist stays in one salon for 3 years, and if you've got any member of your existing team 5 years later, you've broke the national average, which is terrifying. But I can only say that by the time I got from 5 years, from 0 to 5, literally the next day I had nobody. And then from 5 to 10, I had one stylist and one reception team, and that same person and that same reception team were there at 15.
Wow.
And then this next crew have taken me right through. You know, I've got like some whole, you know, amazing members of my team that have been with me over those 5 year periods. It took me 15 years to get to the point where I had people longer than the average, which, you know, blew my mind. You know, and thinking you were doing it right. Now, yes, there was a million pitfalls that were out with their control, but still, you know the sum, you know the average, you know where people are at, and still didn't make it work, you know,
Yeah.
which is amazing. And you just never take that for granted that any of these team members want to be part of it. Again, hopefully we put an infrastructure in place that you are continually learning. You know, there's obviously all the education. You never say no to anybody that wants to learn something. You know, as long as it's valid and positive for the business at the time, then you're never.
And the reality of it is, you did make it work because you're here still doing it.
Oh yeah.
So that's the reality of it as well, isn't it? Like, it's what are you gauging the success of it on? You know, so
being opened. That's it.
This is it.
That's it. I'll bite your hand off.
It's good that you're a late night worker and you're happy to be doing that.
That's it. You turn around and tell me in 25 years it's still open, I'll absolutely bite your hand off. So at that point, where do you see the future of your so yourself as a salon director?
Yes.
You know, so you go back to that girl that didn't take no for an answer and was walking out of that salon about to not get an interview in the salon that she wasn't getting an interview in the first place. I love that, by the way. That is amazing. To the person that then sat and went, no, that's not the place for me, but understood that the phone call that she got that night to come back the next day was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Who's then the same person that took the walk to the office to stand in front of Alan for him to think for 5 minutes and no answer you back and wonder where he's went to then the person switching on her new card machine at Great Western Road that night. Where'd you see her in 10 years?
That's an interesting one, isn't it? I mean, it's interesting because when you describe it like that, there's been this like complete journey. Yeah. But I can only resonate with what you've spoke about Alan before, which is just like you're so looking forward that you almost can't look at those things and recognise those things as being achievements, because it's like once you've got to that, the step in front of that's bigger. You know, so ideally we would be in a place where we would be operating with, you know, double the team that we've got now. I would love a salon where we've got somebody achieving in every avenue of what Rainbow Room offers, management, education and creativity, because I think that those are the pillars of really great success for a salon, because you're always going to have someone in your salon who's going through the education centre. You're always going to have someone in the salon who's excited about creativity, but do they feel comfortable enough to be involved with the art team? And there's always going to be someone who's a little bit more skilled at the managing aspect of things. So making sure that I create an environment that if anyone's interested in any of those practices, then it's available to them. And I'm a massive one right now for me. Like, I am like online constantly, like what courses can I find, what opportunities are out there, messaging the girls, you know, there's this thing, why don't you put an image into that, why don't you? And it's not me being pressureful because I want it for you. It's me going, I think you might want this for yourself, but I don't know that you know this is available. So here you go. Like, and also if you're not ready for that, and if you don't, that's okay as well. But I want you to know I've got your back. And if you are interested in that, we'll figure out from a salon point of view how to make that work. So
isn't that interesting? Because I've got a couple of people just now that are unbelievably passionate about a certain thing, but have no interest in getting the pat in the back for it, which is quite interesting. You know, that way I've got people and you just think, wow, they're genuinely doing that because they just love doing that and creating that, and that's an outlet for them. They actually don't need the validation of going, oh, thanks very much, I've won this thing for doing that, which was really quite an eye opener for me. I'm not particularly gong related myself, and don't get me wrong, the things that I've achieved or I've won have been great. I've lately been losing more than I've been winning. Got to be in it to win it and all that stuff. But
do you think that's true though, or do you think they're just not ready to put themselves in the position where they want to win it but they might not?
Aye.
Do you know what I mean?
They might just be scared of not winning.
But not even psychologically aware that that's the reason for it.
Maybe.
Do you know what I mean? Like, because there is this big thing now where people are really, really, really comfortable operating where they're comfortable. You know, and it's quite a controlled thing then, isn't it? If you're taking it to a place where you're like, I'm totally doing it for me, and as long as I know I'm capable of doing that thing, that's really what matters. But is that really how they feel?
Yeah.
Do you know?
They're maybe masking it. Yeah.
But subliminally, not even necessarily
they
aware
don't
of
know.
it themselves, you know.
Yeah.
I'll sometimes take the girls and be like, I'm going to give you an hour of my time and we'll do anything one-on-one education that's related to, you can learn something you've maybe seen me do in the salon, whether it be us sitting down with a theory book or getting a training head out or having a chat.
Yeah.
You can get an hour of my time, what would you like? And one girl was like, can I show you a really amazing style dry that I'm good at doing in the salon?
Wow.
And I was like, why?
Mm-hmm.
You're already saying you're really amazing at it. You can show me that anytime.
Yeah.
If there's something I could maybe teach you, do you not think? And she's like, no, but anything you're going to show me, like, I'll be really uncomfortable. I was like, oh my God, you just want to be comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that, because I think life for young ones nowadays is there's more comfort than what there ever really was for us, you know, because you only ever got the pat in the back if you'd done well and you really excelled at something. Whereas I think that I then done a wee study, and I had a lot of young clients in over a period of time, and I was kind of interviewing them casually, and I was like, what's the worst feeling you think you could possibly have? And this was that kind of 13 to 17-year-old age range, and they were like, oh my God, embarrassment is the thing for me that, like, I would just die if I had an embarrassing feeling. I would do anything to just not feel embarrassed. And I thought, that's interesting. I wonder if that's also relating to the trying to stay within your comfort zone of things, because you really don't want to feel uncomfortable, and you're doing anything you possibly can to avoid that. But does that not also mean that you're avoiding progress?
Of course
if you never want that uncomfortable. How many times did you get asked to do something on a client that you weren't capable of doing yet? But you'd be like, I'll give it a go. You need me to style dry the back of that client while you do the front. I don't really know how to turn the dryer on, but here I am. I'm giving it a go, and I'm giving it a job. And we were like, always, don't ever say no.
But that's because we didn't have that. So the two things is that the comfort comes from the validation of the like and the tick and the share, because I've done a thing and they've liked that. That's great. The embarrassment thing, never even thought about it, but the idea of the death of nightclubs, because nobody wants to get filmed dancing badly. So they're all videoing the DJ and they're all standing. Now, if there was video evidence of anything I did in a nightclub from 1990 to when I probably officially retired in about 2010, you know what I mean? It would be horrendous.
Although doesn't that show you what a comfortable environment Congress is?
Well, exactly. It would be a reel of doom that would be out there. And I don't get me wrong, I love them. I love the idea I've got every song I've ever owned in my life there. I can show any picture to anybody ever. I can get in touch, I can learn stuff, but I can doom scroll and I can disappear in it as well. But God, I wish they could just go back to that one moment of being in the present and not having to worry about the thing. You know, as a salon owner, for me, it would be those lock boxes where you see them in the school where they put them in. It's not about taking it off, and it's not about that I'm doing this as a reprimand or anything like that. I just want you to enjoy this thing for this moment in time.
Be in the present.
Exactly, when we're so wrapped up in it. So that's really interesting that's that core age group of 13 to 17 and the idea of being embarrassed. Whereas, my God, 13 to 17 was just about being embarrassed.
Well, I was going to say that. How many times did you go to chap a friend's door and their mum would be like, they're away out with somebody else, and you'd be like, that's my pal. They never came to get me. You know, like, you just had to learn to live your life in that way and push through it.
As a guy, it was phoning a girl's house and the idea that the dad was going to answer. And you're sitting in your house and your mum and dad can hear you and you're on the phone in the hall, on the wall, you know, and then, you know, you've got a 30% chance that it's either going to be her, the mum, or the dad. God forbid it's the big brother. Then you're in real trouble. You know, all of these things. Now the situations they'll be there for them. It'll be the same but different as all these things are. But I would love them to not have to have that fear of getting it wrong, and the validation that they then need that it's okay. But again, that's your job. Your job is to listen. It's completely okay to make that mistake. And by the way, you did that and that was amazing. Whether it was you've swept the floor, great, you've rearranged the shelf, amazing, or you've done this fabulous set of foils or an amazing colour. So that's a really interesting question there, because my last question I want to do, because your journey's been amazing, and it's so exciting having spoken to everybody who are further down their journey, that you're right at that bubbling point where the pots are all bubbling at the right way, and you're about to make this unbelievable plate of pasta with all these, all these people. You know, that's so exciting. But the kid that's watching this now, that somebody's stumbled upon this and they're thinking about a career in hairdressing, what would be that sort of nugget piece of advice you would give them?
Walk in the door. You know, like we went and done a careers event 2 weeks ago, and you know, there was a girl who was just incredibly passionate and excited about wanting to do hair. She's like, but I do want to stay on for another 2 years. Come in for a Saturday job. You know, like test the waters, like be in the environment, learn some communication skills, learn what the industry's actually like. You don't have to make the leap, you know, right away, leave school and come in and do it full time. But I think there's a lot of people that think that they should have always known they wanted to do hairdressing, and I think we've heard quite a lot of that, like on the podcast. But that's why I thought it was quite, when I was listening to watching the podcasts back, and I thought, I didn't have that experience, I didn't have that journey. I wanted to make money and walked in a salon because I knew they would take on 15-year-olds. So you might not always know you want to do hairdressing, but where's the harm if you're at school applying for a late night or a Saturday or a Sunday work, because the rainbow rooms are all open, different hours, and you'll certainly be able to find yourself something. And if nothing else, and at the end of your 6 months or your year that you do your part-time work and you decide you don't want to do hairdressing, I guarantee you the skills that you've learned, the communication skills, the people skills, and the responsibility where when you turn up somewhere, even if you're brand new day one, they're relying on you to make their day go easier. You know, the rest of the stylists and the staff. So you're valuable from the minute you walk in the door. At 15, 16 or 17, where else have you had that experience?
Amazing. No.
You know, so I think that my nugget of advice would be, get a part-time job in a hairdresser, whether you want to do hairdressing or not, because it will only serve you well, and you might find you walk in the door and it becomes your tribe.
And don't take no for an answer, that is for sure.
Apparently.
Well, what a way to end the whole origin story series, because we started with the first guy, we started with Alan, and we're finishing today with yourself as the newest member of the director team. I think the journey's been unbelievable. Your whole story's been fabulous. Thank you for colour coordinating with me for the last time, which was a complete fluke, but that was, you know, we're all about the aesthetic, so that was brilliant. But what an absolutely brilliant podcast. Thanks very much, Tara.
Thank you so much.